Good evening, everybody. It's now 6:30 p.m. and I shall commence this meeting of the Development Control Committee. First, some housekeeping announcements. So, fire evacuation procedures. There are no fire alarms scheduled for this evening. Therefore, if the fire alarm sounds, it's for real. Please evacuate the building as soon as you possibly can by the nearest available exit in the event of fire alarm sounding. So the exits are situated behind the public gallery and behind us on either side. Please make your way out of the building, out of the reception area, and our muster point is in the War Memorial Park behind where we are now. Please do stick around and make sure you're accounted for. Otherwise, we think you might still be in the building with a fire. We've also got a defib in the event that we need that. I sincerely hope we don't locate it in the kitchen if anyone comes to grief. This meeting is webcast. It's being streamed live on the internet. Therefore, if you are speaking, we would very much appreciate if you have the mic on so that it can capture what you're saying. If you've got any mobile phones, can I please ask that you either switch them off or switch them to silent so that it doesn't disturb the meeting. So we shall now do some introductions. So my name is Councillor Andrew McCormick. I am chair of the committee. To my immediate right are two legal officers and the vice chair, Councillor Michael Sorrell. Further to my right are the 6 councillors present tonight who will be voting on the decisions in front of us. And to my left are planning officers who will be introducing the items under consideration and answering any questions we may have. The Development Control Committee is a regulatory committee and not a political meeting. The committee will be considering the published papers, listening to contributions brought before us tonight, and will make decisions based on planning reasons only. We are guided by national and local planning policy and guidance. At the appropriate time, I will invite any speakers to contribute to the meeting in the order set out in the update paper. May I ask all speakers, including visiting members, to speak clearly and keep to the points made to the application on material reasons only. No further dialogue between members of the committee and speakers will be permitted once any questions has finished. All speakers will be reminded of their permitted speaking time, which is normally 4 minutes for objectors, 4 minutes for supporters, 4 minutes for councillors. And they'll be advised when they have 1 minute remaining. Any questions raised by committee members will be on matters of fact. Once we've had various presentations and questions, there'll be an opportunity for committee members to question officers. We'll then move on to a debate, and following that we will move on to a vote. There are 3 items tonight, one of which is the same thing but has to be considered twice because it's a listed building, plus 2 tree preservation orders. I'm hoping we can get through these reasonably quickly. I'm also hoping we're not going to have to abandon the meeting early in the event of snow. If that is the case, I do have a date for consideration to reconvene if we do decide to abort the meeting due to snow, and that would be the 22nd of January, Wednesday 22nd of January. So without further ado, I shall open the meeting. First item up is apologies for absence and substitutions. So I have received apologies from Councillor Miller, Councillor Finnemore, and Councillor Durant hopes to join us later, but he was visiting someone in hospital and didn't know what time he would get back. And I think the rest of us are all present and correct. The second item, declarations of interest. Do we have any declarations of interest? I don't see any hands raised. Okay. Item 3, urgent matters. There are none. Item 4, minutes of 2 meetings, 2 previous meetings, the first of which we'll take is the one that was held on the 20th of November, which we can discuss if required for accuracy only. Do I have a mover for the minutes of the 20th of November? Councillor Howard-Sorrell, and seconder, Councillor Bound. Okay, are you all happy with the minutes that they're accurate record? Excellent. I shall sign those as a true record. Similarly, for Wednesday the 4th of December, do I have a mover for the minutes? Councillor Hussey, seconder, Councillor Howard-Sorrell. Are we all happy that those minutes are an accurate record? Excellent. Okay, so now we come on to main business for tonight, item 5, which is planning applications for consideration before us. And the first planning application we have up is Skippett's House, Skippett's Lane West. And if we could have the officer introduction, please.
Thank you, Chair. This is a full application for the change of use of the site and building from office to residential through the conversion of the Grade 2 listed building, Skippett's House, which will provide 15 units in the main building, together with a first floor addition on the eastern wing of the house to provide an additional 3 units. Furthermore, 12 additional new build dwellings will be provided within the grounds. The scheme originally proposed 39 units in total, but was reduced to 30 throughout the course of the application in response to impacts on the listed building and important trees within the site, in particular the veteran sweet chestnut to the north of the house. Members have had the benefit of viewing the site and will have noticed the condition of the listed building, which has been the subject of numerous antisocial behaviour events. A viability assessment was submitted during the course of the application, which concluded that no affordable housing could be supported. Policy CM1 of the local plan allows for such assessments to be submitted, and this approach is endorsed in the Council's Housing SPD. The assessment was independently assessed by the Council's consultant, who agreed with the applicant's conclusion that the scheme cannot support any affordable housing. If we turn to the update paper, the notes of the members' viewing panel are set out, and it further notes that today we had comments from Ward Councillor Mackay, who unfortunately is unable to attend the meeting tonight. He had intended to come and speak, and although he notes it's disappointing there is no affordable housing being provided, he does support the application. Continuing in the update paper, following the some queries raised during the site viewing panel last week, an amended site plan has been submitted, removing the annotation which referred to allocated parking at 50%, which was an error. The update paper confirms that over 50% of unallocated parking spaces will be provided, and therefore the scheme needs to provide a requirement of 39 spaces, and the plan shows that 43 will be provided. So therefore there will be an over provision of 4 spaces. The amended plan also shows an amendment to the designation of 4 of the spaces to the front of the building, previously shown as electric vehicle parking and 1 disabled space, to general purpose parking. This reduction in disabled spaces would still be above the minimum 5% requirement as set out in the parking SPD. The various conditions that refer to the previous site plan have therefore been updated to refer to the latest revision. As a further verbal update, it is also suggested that an additional pre-commencement condition requiring the submission of a phasing plan showing how the development will proceed in terms of the sequence of works across the site is also included should permission be granted. The recommendation is for approval subject to the completion of a Section 106 agreement to secure a number of obligations as set out in the main paper, together with the conditions listed in the main paper, with the amendments in the update paper and the further condition just referred to.
Thank you very much. So I have Mrs. N. Egan listed to speak in objection. Mrs. Egan? Okay, well, okay, we'll move on if Miss Egan isn't here. In support, Kerry Futter. We've got Kerry Futter. If you'd like to approach, there's some seats set up on your right. So welcome to Development Control. Seats on your right. The right-hand button activates the mic, and when you're ready, you'll have 4 minutes. Thank you.
Thank you for the opportunity to speak today in support of the planning and listed building applications for Skippett's House. The proposed scheme is a site-specific design response to Skippett's House and its setting as a listed building, and the context of the site, which also includes 2 group TPOs. Careful consideration has been given to the proposed conversion, extension and provision of some new build dwellings in the grounds. It will secure long-term residential use for the listed building and wider site and provide 30 new homes, a mix of 1, 2 and 3 bed units, in this highly sustainable urban location. All relevant national and local planning policies and guidance have been addressed, and support for the proposals is further confirmed in the new NPPF published last month, giving substantial weight to the value of using suitable brownfield land within settlements for homes, proposals for which should be approved unless substantial harm would be caused. The applications were first submitted in July 2020 and hence have been considered over an extensive period of time. We're pleased that the proposals are being presented to committee today with a recommendation for approval by your officers. A wide range of specialist reports have been submitted in support of the application proposals, including heritage, drainage, ecology and transport, and support has been confirmed by all relevant consultees. The many positive attributes of the scheme are detailed within the officers' report and include high quality design, a mix of dwelling sizes, high-quality residential amenity, provision of private amenity space alongside attractive communal spaces around the listed building, the sympathetic conversion and extension of the listed building, and retention of trees within the site. The Section 106 is substantially agreed and complete and provides for off-site open space provision, including play space and allotments, and to ensure biodiversity enhancements. I therefore seek to focus my time today in addressing issues which I understand have been raised by members and provide some further explanation and clarification. The first is car parking provision. I also note here that objections were raised by some local residents in Skippett's Gardens on this point, albeit the amendments to the scheme in 2021 addressed many of the issues that were raised. The car parking requirement for the scheme under the adopted parking SPD is 39 spaces. We have sought to maximise we've sought to maximise the parking provision whilst working within the constraints of the site, including the listed building, the 2 area TPOs and related tree root protection zones, protection of hedgerows, provision of bin stores accessible to the site frontage and provision of cycle parking. Notwithstanding these constraints, the scheme provides 43 spaces and over-provision relative to the standards by 4 spaces. We've also responded to requests to reduce the level of electric vehicle charging spaces and to remove 1 over-provided disabled parking space to free up further unconstrained and unallocated parking. This in addition to the highly sustainable location of the site with access to public transport and cycle routes. The second is viability and the provision of affordable housing. The viability of the site was marginal when the original application for 39 units was first submitted in July 2020. In November 2021, following consultation with planning, conservation and design officers, the scheme was amended and reduced from 39 to 30 units. The local, national and global challenges since 2020, including COVID and the Ukraine war, resulted in significant increases in build costs, which have only worsened this position. As you'll be aware, the site has been the target of antisocial behaviour and significant vandalism, which, in ongoing discussion with the council, has resulted in further costs, including the ongoing re-securing of the building, theft of cables, materials and significant damage to the roof, part of which my client was required to replace at considerable cost, while vandals continue to enter the site. My client acknowledges the requirements of the council's policy, however, it's not viable to provide here, and the site policy includes allowances for this. I'd like to assure you that this matter has been taken very seriously, including the provision of a detailed 90-page schedule of works report, including a full breakdown of build costs for the entire scheme. The council's own consultant has confirmed the costs relative to potential sales values mean that affordable housing is not viable. This is an attractive, well-designed and well-considered scheme in a highly sustainable urban location.
I'm afraid you're out of time. Can you sum up?
Sorry, it will provide 30 dwellings within the Basingstoke town settlement boundary against the council's housing land supply. we hope that you'll be able to support your officer's recommendation for approval of the application today.
Excellent. Thank you for your contribution. Councillors, do you have any questions? Councillor Bound?
Just one question. On your original application then or your first thoughts back in 2021,
Not quite that far.
for the 39, how much affordable housing was there?
I think we might have shown some units then. I think it was a kind of a partial offer because there was a report done at that time. But so much has changed since then that we've had to basically do the whole thing again because of the build costs. It changes everything.
So you can't put a figure on it?
In terms of what would have originally been proposed, I think it might have been around 10 units or something like that, but that was proposing 39.
Any more questions, councillors? Thank you very much for your contribution, Mrs. Futter.
Okay, thank you.
Now, Councillor Mackay did request to speak, but we've had his summary of his statement anyway, in which case we shall move on to questions for officers. Councillor Hussey.
Item 14 says, believe bats are living and surrounding site. Now, maybe it's in the report, but I've missed it if it is. Any views on, comments on that observation from a resident?
Yeah, if there's a whole section on biodiversity from pages 78 onwards, and there's been an updated, in 2024, an updated bat emergence survey done. That's in paragraph 8.87. There would be a requirement for a bat mitigation licence in any event, which would normally be granted by Natural England.
Thank you. Any further questions? Councillor Court.
Thank you, Chair. Just going back to the bat mitigation plan, what exactly does that mean? Are we just moving the bats on, or we just leave them there? What's actually happening?
The report sets out a number of mitigation measures, and I don't have those specific details to hand. Obviously, those reports have been reviewed by our expert biodiversity officers who are satisfied with them. And in any event, as I said, there will be a requirement for a separate bat licence to be obtained to ensure protection of the species.
Thank you very much.
Councillor Jones.
Yeah, the parking spaces, we've got an overcommitment, over provision. Do they actually meet the current size of parking spaces?
Yep, the spaces are 5 metres, majority of 5 metres in depth and at least 2.7 metres in width.
Any further questions, councillors? Okay, in which case we shall move on to debate. Do I have any speakers for debate? Councillor Bound.
I'll start off and hope the other people will join in. The planning balance doesn't discuss the lack of affordable housing. Something I would have expected to have been given weight, at least in the decision making, mentioned at least. Even if the viability issue, as far as the officers are concerned, had been ruled out. I mean, there's nothing there. There's not even any off-site, given any off-site mitigation. That's the word I was thinking of. Yeah. So, from what the previous one, the proposer spoke about, that would have been about 39% in the original application, and now we've got 30, and we've got nothing. It's gone down from, more or less what we should be having according to our policies to 0. And I find that somewhat disturbing. I'm in a dilemma here. I mean, I think the scheme as it is very, very good. I think it's eminently satisfactory. They've preserved the heritage asset. It largely preserves the biodiversity of the site and protects most of the trees. We will eventually have 30 extra dwellings, which, you know, is no small number in terms of what we require within the borough, added into our housing stock. The site is well screened from the surrounding area. There's no overlooking or overbearing. But as, you know, I go back to this 40% that we should have, according to our policies, there is absolutely nothing. And that, as far as I'm concerned, is the real downside of this proposal. I don't, in all honesty, think I can vote against it, because I think that the things that I've just mentioned latterly sway me in terms of the proposal, but I can't say that I'm not bitterly disappointed in what we've got here in terms of the affordability.
Thank you. Councillor Hussey.
I agree about the disappointment about the lack of affordable housing, and I have to accept the officer's report, having taken the views of an independent consultant, that it's not economic viably financially viable to include affordable units. So I have to accept that. I would like to thank the officers, though, for them contacting the applicant post our site visit and the changes to the parking arrangement, because I think that's a very positive move. It is a concern for residents in that area, and now that the actual number of spaces available is greater than our minimum standards for parking places, I think it's a very positive move by the developer. I want to see the buildings restored. It was so sad to see all the clay tiles all over the place, and water penetration give further damage to the building. So the sooner the building can be restored, and this application obviously will tackle that. So I would move the recommendation.
Thank you very much. Do we have a seconder? Councillor Court.
I'll second this. Thank you.
Okay. Does anyone else wish to speak before we move to vote? Councillor Freeman.
Just to say that I do thoroughly agree. It's absolutely lovely, the scheme in itself. The only sticking point is the lack of affordable housing. But as we've said before, it's you know, it's the viability study. It's just a shame, and maybe hopefully that if something like this occurs again, then we can get out affordable housing. But yeah, for me, it's really the only downside of the scheme. The rest of it is lovely.
Okay, good. So we have a live proposal on the table. We shall now move to vote. All those in favour, please show. I think that's unanimous. Okay, if we can have the decision, please.
Yep, so the application is approved subject to the completion of the legal agreement, the conditions listed in the main report, the conditions amended in the update paper, and the verbal condition with regard to the phasing plan.
Excellent, thank you very much. And now we go through the second application pertaining to Skippett's House, which is the listed building consent. So if Lisa, if you can introduce that one first.
Yes,
thanks.
thank you, Chair. So this is the concurrent application for listed building consent, sitting alongside the full application we've just discussed. Whilst the description of the proposal is identical to the full application, listed building consent is only required for the works of demolition, alteration, extension to the listed building itself. I'll be brief here, but the report sets out that there would be a positive public benefit to the Grade 2 listed building as a result of the proposals. Whilst there would be less than substantial harm, this would be at the low level and is balanced against securing a viable optimum use for the building to facilitate its maintenance and thus survival. The public benefits of the scheme outweigh this very low level of harm, and therefore listed building consent is recommended.
Thank you very much. I have Kerry Futter down to speak again. Did you want to say a few more words, or were you happy to pass? Okay, thank you very much. In which case, do we have any more questions for officers on the listed building consent? We just go straight to debate. Councillor Hussey? Move the recommendation. Do I have a seconder? Yep, okay, I'll note Councillor Jones for that one. Those in favour, please show. So I think that's unanimous again, so if we can have the decision recorded, great.
Yeah, listed building consent is granted, subject to conditions in the main report with the amendment to the plans condition in the update paper.
Excellent, thank you very much. So now we go on to the third application before us tonight, the final application, which is Clayton Mews in St Marybourne. So Mike, if you'd like to introduce that one, please.
Thank you, Chair. This is an application for erection of a new detached garage to the side of 2 Clayton Mews, Gambridge Lane, St Marybourne. The property is within the St Marybourne Conservation Area. The details of the application and the size of the property, size of the proposed garage, are set out in paragraph 4.1, with the garage being proposed at 6.2 metres wide, 6.3 metres deep, with a height of 4.4 metres. The application is recommended for approval. There is no update yet.
Thank you very much, Mike. Mr Crozer, we have you down to speak. Welcome to Development Control. Seats there on your right. Just work the back row.
One back, just where the position 1 is.
Position 1, yeah. Yeah, when you're seated, it's the right-hand button to activate the mic. When you're ready, you'll have 4 minutes. Thank you.
Sorry, the bottom one. Lovely. Sorry about that. Lovely. Thank you. We are the closest inhabitants to this development at Row Farmhouse, and we have our main objection to this is on the size of this garage, as does the PCC. It's shown as 4.5 metres on 5 out of the 6 drawings on the Basingstoke and Dean's website. This is higher than number 4 Clayton Mews. In addition, the base was built at half a metre higher than our land, so has an effective height of 5 metres to our property. It's 6.2 metres wide and 6.3 metres long. It 0.8.23 in your report states that the room facing this garage is a kitchen, but I'd like to point out it's also a dining area, and it is certainly habitable by us, with 90% of our meals overlooking this view. Number 2 Clayton Mews is owned by the builder of the Clayton Mews Mews, and has already extended from a bungalow to a 2-storey house, and had changed the use of the original garage with retrospective permission in October, only 2.5 months ago. The original developer came up with sensitive plans with consideration to the properties surrounding this development, and we had no objections to that. And this planning committee approved this sensitive design. The current owner has not discussed any of the garage that has been put up for planning permission with us, and it is not sensitive to the area. And it's not just our opinion. the St Marybourne Parish Council objects to this application because it considers the proposed building to be an overdevelopment of the area and out of proportion to its surroundings. The original design of the development at Roe Farm underwent careful consideration of the surrounds and the original building of the farm and how they would sit next to existing and remaining buildings in the neighbourhood. The proposed garage will be out of character and overpowering in the area. The original construction of 2 Clayton Mews had a garage, which the owner has since incorporated into the house. Therefore, the need for a garage should have been considered before this change. It was a unanimous decision of 7 votes against and none in favour. If planning consent is given, it would be in opposition to the unanimous decision of the parish council's objections. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you very much for your contribution. Councillors, do we have any questions? I see no hands raised. Thank you very much for your contribution.
Lovely, thank you.
If you can switch the mic off, press the button on the right again, it will go off. So we don't have any ward councillors listed, so we'll move straight on to questions for officers. Do we have any questions? Councillor Hussey.
Looking at the plan that's now being shown, the darker shading of number 2, that end, which is behind the garage, are there any doors or windows in that, in the house? Looks like a corridor between the garage and the house.
I don't know is the honest answer in terms of, I presume you mean adjacent to the red line.
Yeah.
I assume that's a pathway. If we've got a photo, yeah. No, I think there's one more photo which is slightly further around, but I don't think it will show us. So I don't know is the honest answer.
Can I answer that?
Afraid not. We've moved beyond public participation on this item now. Does that answer your question, Councillor Hussey? Okay. Any more questions, councillors? Well, see from. Any further questions? Okay, we'll move on to debate then. Do we have an opener? Does anyone have anything to move on this? Okay, in that case then I'll move the recommendation from the chair. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Bound. And we'll move to vote. Those in favour, please show. Those against, please show. There's 1 abstentions, 1. Okay. Can we have the decision recorded, please?
Thank you, Chair. The application is approved in accordance with the conditions set out in the main agenda paper.
Okay, thank you very much. So that ends the planning items tonight, but we've got a couple of tree preservation orders as well to go through. So first up for TPOs is land at 53 Newbury Road, Kingsclear, 5 Peel Gardens and 7 Peel Gardens. And Amy, if you'd like to introduce, thanks.
Thank you, Chair. The Council has made TPO 721 to protect 4 individual and 2 groups of trees, which span over 3 properties as per Schedule 1, which can be seen at Appendix 2 of the report. The TPO was made due to a combination of a Section 211 notification for works to two trees which were protected by virtue of being within the conservation area at 53 Newbury Road, and two separate TPO requests for the trees situated within the gardens of numbers 5 and 7 Peel Gardens, one of which was made following the felling of significant trees at number 7 Peel Gardens. As one objection has been received in response to the serving of the order, the TPO has been brought before the committee to determine whether it will be confirmed. The officer's recommendation is that the TPO is confirmed as per the plan at Appendix 1 and as detailed within the schedule at Appendix 2. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And we have Mr. Whitling in support. Welcome to Development Control. Seats in the back row there to your right. Press the right button when you're ready. You've got 4 minutes. Thank you very much.
Okay. Good evening, everybody. A major factor in myself and Sue deciding to purchase 5 Peel Gardens back in 1994 was the stunning southerly outlook with plentiful tall mature trees providing a feel of real rural tranquility. The groups of trees in question represents a significant landscape feature on the horizon when viewed from public vantage points, such as from White Hill, which I'm sure many of you know, and are important to the quality of the landscape that is protected by the Kingsclere Conservation Area, as already mentioned. These trees are actually amongst the tallest trees in the village. In recent years, three large pine trees have been felled by the new occupants of 7 Peel Gardens without notifying us. And then a 4th tree was felled 6 months later, leaving only 3 of the large pine trees left. And this has significantly impacted on the skyline, the beauty of the local area and the level of privacy we were used to. We requested a TPO to prevent the many trees also being removed in November 2023. The trees in the garden of 53 Newbury Road are within the Kingsclere Conservation, as already mentioned. These tall trees are understood to have been part of the landscape for the entrance to the farmhouse Keeps Meadow approximately 100 years ago, prior to the development of Wellman's Meadow estate in the 1980s, when the trees were actually preserved and were part of the development. The removal of the trees, we believe, would adversely affect our current view, level of privacy and noise mitigation from traffic from Newbury Road. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Councillors, do you have any questions, Mr. Whitling? Thank you very much for your time and your contribution.
Pleasure.
Any questions for officers? See no hands raised. Okay, we'll move on to debate then. Do we have a mover? Councillor Freeman, a seconder, Councillor Court. So in favour of the recommendation to confirm the TPO. So we'll move to vote then. Those in favour, please show. So I think that's unanimous. Excellent. We can have the decision recorded, please.
The order has been confirmed without modifications in accordance with the recommendations made in the report.
Excellent. Which brings us to the last item of business tonight, which is another TPO, which is Pirates Cottage, Tubbs Lane, Highclere. And Amy, again, if you could introduce, thanks.
Thank you, Chair. The Council made TPO 722 to protect 2 yew trees situated in the rear garden of Pirates Cottage and Highclere. This was made following the receipt of a TPO request from local residents as the trees were at risk of removal by tree contractors. As an objection has been received, the TPO has been brought before the committee to determine whether it will be confirmed, and the officer's recommendation is that the TPO be confirmed. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you very much. And we don't have anybody down to speak. Councillors, do you have any questions on this one for officers? Okay, in which case we'll move straight to debate. Do I have a proposer? Councillor Court, and a seconder, Councillor Freeman, in favour of confirmation of the tree preservation order. We'll move to vote then. Those in favour, please show. I think that's unanimous. Okay, I think that concludes items of business for tonight. Or we need a decision, and then we'll conclude the meeting.
The order has been confirmed without modifications in accordance with the main report.
Okay, and that concludes our business for tonight. Thank you, everybody.